Have you experienced the awesome power of the Panasonic Real 3DO system? Obviously.
Presenting 3DO, the most advanced home gaming system in the universe. It's time to put away your toys.
3DO from Panasonic, Gold Star, and Creative Labs. A new low price and free games.
Mind-blowing graphics of Panasonic Real 3DO. 3DO.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 3DO Experience, the 3DO retrospective podcast where we talk about the 3DO console, the company behind it, and everything in between. I am Bill, and this is Threk. How you doing, Threk?
Hey, Bill. I'm doing all right. I'm assuming this is our test run for the video. So, hello, everybody. Hope you all will be visually entertained as well as auditorily entertained. But I'm doing all right. How are you doing, Bill? I know the weather's been bad.
Yeah, it's currently, so we had a big winter snowstorm over the weekend. That was fun. A bunch of trees fell down. Didn't lose power. That's always fun.
Or we wouldn't be doing the show if you lost power.
Well, I meant over the weekend, to be fair, but it's still pretty bad out. Like, it's like a raining, like, snow. It's basically freezing rain out there right now, which is like a combination of two of my least favorite things. So
Fair enough. It rained. It's been raining like all day here, and it's supposed to turn into snow overnight. Not nearly as bad over here in the Midwest for me, but you know, unlike most people, I tend to enjoy this kind of weather. You know, because it's funny at work. I typically wear just short sleeves because as I like to say, I run hot. So I'm usually just kind of warm. So I might be cold, like say when I get there, but once I start moving, I'm fine. And many times like customers or other workers will be like, are you cold or whatever? And I always just put out my arm and say, just feel my forearm. And it like just heat radiates off of it. And they're always amazed, I think. Amazed. That's why I hate the summer. Because it doesn't cool down. So
see, I used to run hot, then I lost a lot of weight, and then now I'm always cold.
See, I've always run hot. You know, I mean, even at my heaviest, and I've lost a fair amount of weight since then. I hope to lose a bit more, but you know, as I say, I know how to hide some of my more rotund nature, but nevertheless, so yeah.
I turned 29 over the last week too. Actually, the day the last episode came out.
How does it feel?
One year away from 30. Oh,
welcome. I will be turning 30 in like 7 months, and I don't know how to feel about that.
See, I'm only bummed because I missed like most of my 20s because of COVID, so it's kind of a bummer.
Well, as somebody who lived through most of his 20s, you didn't miss that much.
Yeah.
It starts out really fun, you know, real exciting, and then it just kind of slowly kind of peters out, you know, and then you kind of hit that quarter life crisis, and then you end up on video game podcasts because of it. So
yeah,
you know,
that's just the cool thing to do these days. Is just you start a podcast about something.
Yeah, it's the equivalent in the 70s when everyone had a band. Everyone has a podcast now.
Yep. Yeah, other than that though, I haven't been playing a whole lot. I've been playing Infamous again, like on and off, because for some reason, like I'm getting sick and tired of superhero stuff, but like I want to play a superhero game, and Infamous is like the closest thing possible.
Oh, isn't Prototype similar?
Prototype you play as more of a villain. There isn't really a hero route in Prototype.
Okay.
Because Infamous is, I mean, they're both great games. Infamous I like a little bit more just because it does the hero villain thing better in my opinion. It's funny though because like when you play as a hero, the game's actually kind of challenging, but when you play as a villain, it's super easy because there's fucking no rules.
Yeah, it's always more fun to do that.
Because like in hero mode, you actually have to like be careful not to hit civilians when you're in like a street fight or something. But in like villain mode, you just blow through everybody because you don't give a shit. It's great.
Good stuff. I've never touched the Infamous games, so I have no idea. They look interesting. Like you're just a guy who shoots electricity at things. So seems interesting enough. I'm not sure why the series ended. Maybe it was just was it the curse of like, oh, it's a Sony franchise, so it gets 3 entries and then it goes away,
I
or was
think
it just Sucker Punch wanted to move on?
I think it's more the case of Sucker Punch is strictly a one game studio, and they wanted to do something else. No one else has wanted to take it up, I guess.
I wonder what that other thing they did turned out. Wonder if that did well.
I heard it was a samurai game. I'm not sure if it did well though or not.
Yes. Some about haunting people, I think.
Yeah.
The Haunting, starring Poltergeist.
Yeah, I heard it was.
That's cool.
Heard something about like it looked so good that people thought it was a PS5 game early or something. I don't know.
I'm sure it looks really good on PS5. So.
That's what I've played the upgrade. It actually does. Little spoiler there.
Nice. When I eventually get my PS5, I will play it. But for right now, I'm playing Assassin's Creed Syndicate on my Series X. I've been slowly working my way through the entire series. I started, I think it's in December of 22 with the original, and I've just been, knocking them down one after another, not really doing any of the handheld spin-off ones, just sticking with the mainline series. I will do the 3 Chronicles games after this one before I hit the RPG trilogy. And who knows, when I finish the series, I may do I might do like a solo tier list video or something. But I gotta say, for Syndicate, I think it's really, really good. This is one people tend not to like all that much. And as I'm playing it, I don't quite understand. But maybe this is one that appeals to me, because it's in London, and you're following, like, you're like ghost hunting essentially with like Charles Darwin, or not with Darwin, with Charles Dickens. And then Darwin shows up and you intimidate somebody that he's having beef with by literally hijacking his carriage and then trying to ram it until he like talks. Essentially, it is pretty interesting. But I'm having a blast with it. It's fun. Whereas Unity was good, but Unity felt very serious the whole time. Syndicate's like, let's just have some fun. It's not that big a deal. So
yeah, I feel like Unity they tried too hard, and Syndicate they didn't try as hard, and that kind of was to its benefit.
Yeah. Unity. My theory is Unity was trying to be Assassin's Creed 2 again.
Yeah.
And as great as Assassin's Creed 2 is, and as much as we love Ezio, you're not going to recreate that magic. So there's no reason to do that. Just make a fresh game. And that's what Syndicate is. They did what I wanted them to do, which was make something new.
It's kind of funny in hindsight because a lot of people forget just how long they milked Assassin's Creed 2 for.
Oh, yeah. Because they had the whole Ezio trilogy. But
yeah, because they had Assassin's Creed 2, then Brotherhood, then
Revelation.
Ascension. Revelations, that's right.
Yeah.
And then
yeah. But it made sense because the series was still finding its feet and everyone loved Ezio. So they're like, let's explore this character. And I mean, even still, Ezio is, in my opinion, he's the best assassin. Like, I mean, I like Edward. Edward's great. The Fry twins aren't too bad. I have some beef with Altair. And Arno is, but yeah, Ezio's peak. We love Ezio. We love Ezio, folks.
Voiced by Sonic the Hedgehog.
I know, that's so weird.
Yeah, it's always funny. It's like his 3 biggest roles were Ezio, Sonic, and Chris Redfield.
I mean, that's quite the interesting threesome there, but whatever pays the bills.
I love that Sega fired him and then realized they couldn't do any better, so then they just brought him back. And they were like,
that's pretty good.
They were like, "You're fired," and they're like, "Just kidding. Please come back. We can't find anyone else.
Nobody else wants to do this."
And Ryan Drummond's a weirdo.
A little bit. Didn't he like? It was a fan, right?
Yeah, all I know about that is like he was trending on Twitter one day, and I was like, "Why is Ryan Drummond trending on Twitter?" And I clicked on the link, and I was like, "Oh." I'm like, okay.
Yeah, at first I was like, did he say something problematic or did he die like tragically or whatever? And then people were making jokes and I'm like, what the hell? And then I dug a little deeper and I was like, that's weird.
Yeah. Apparently it's nothing illegal, just weird.
No, nothing. No, they're perfectly capable of doing that. It's just, strange, you know?
Yeah, it was one of the. I made a Friends meme with the Joey reaction face meme where it's like you see
Mhm.
Ryan Drummond's trending on Twitter, and then the kid below one is like, you see why he's trending on Twitter. I was just like, yep, that's how I feel today.
Yeah. Keep your friends or keep your fans at arm's length. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're actually going to be changing things up on this episode. We're going to actually have a format for once.
We're gonna try.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
This is my idea. I was like, it's if I don't have a format, I will ramble. So I figure, try to rope me in a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, my other podcasts are completely unstructured anyways, so I figure it might be good to structure the one that's supposed to be serious. So
This is the serious one. Shit.
I mean, you've seen GNC.
I've been in there.
Yep, it's chaos, and then Geek Addicts where it is basically just two friends shooting the shit.
Basically.
But yeah, so for today's episode, we're actually going to be talking about what is often seen as one of the 3DO's most overlooked hidden gems, and that is a game called Icebreaker.
This little guy right here. Blast him, smash him, trick him. You alone can destroy all pyramids. And obviously, it's the game that's behind me right now.
Yeah, so if you've ever seen a YouTube compilation of just 3DO games or 3DO gameplay, you've probably seen Icebreaker at least once because this game is shown off in pretty much every 3DO hidden gems video, just 3DO retrospective review. Basically, anyone who's talking about 3DO, this game is bound to show up at least once, even for a few seconds.
Yeah, the first time I ever saw it was when AVGN did his infamous Plumbers Don't Wear Ties video, and it was in his little collection of 3DO games. And it actually was one of the games that made me go, that actually looks interesting. I mean, you can see it behind me for the video listeners or the video watchers. Even the game is playing, and it's like that is interesting. You're a tilted down pyramid shooting and running into other pyramids. Like what?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the more striking games on 3DO because it's not trying to be over the top graphically. It's just kind of doing its own thing, and it kind of does it well. We'll get into the gameplay a little bit farther on. So I guess we're kind of in the initial impressions portion now. We kind of said it's a striking looking game. When you had mentioned this one as one you wanted to talk about, I was kind of brain farting on what the game was, and then I immediately looked it up. I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen this one.
I almost thought you were gonna say why. Why do you want to talk about that one?
I always see with 3DO games, I'm down to talk about any of them.
Yeah. I mean, there's not that
if Shanghai had won, I would have done it. It would have been boring, but I would have done it.
If Shanghai won, I would have spent the whole time telling Aaron how much he sucks.
Yeah.
That's what I would have done. Hi, Aaron.
Yeah. This game, though, at first glance, I'd say it looks like something that you would have seen on possibly the previous generation hardware.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a tech demo.
Yeah, it looks like something that honestly, it looks like something you'd find in computer lab at school.
Yeah.
One of those weird games.
Yeah, where it's secretly teaching you stuff. I have no idea what this game would teach you.
Or it's one of those debatably educational games where they claim it's educational, but it's just a fucking video game.
Yeah. Yeah, like Typer Shark. Even though Typer Shark was kind of educational in that you were honing your typing skills, but you're doing it while murdering sharks and submarines. You would type in words to shoot the missile right back at it. Of course, that's educational.
Yeah. I feel like a little unrelated, but I feel like nowadays, if you were good enough, you could convince a teacher that Geometry Wars was educational somehow.
It's teaching them about shapes.
Yeah, totally educational.
Of course, yeah.
So for release history of this game is interesting. Like one of my favorite parts about talking about 3DO games, especially like games that I mean, this came out on PC as well, but it's mostly known for the 3DO. I love looking into these games because they have the weirdest developers.
Yes, yes. What is the name of this dev studio?
Magnet Interactive Studios.
What kind of name is Magnet Interactive Studios?
I mean, it's up there with like any channel. So,
And I looked them up on Moby Games.
Mhm.
They only have 2 other games to their name. Chop Suey, not that Chop Suey, not even that Chop Suey,
Okay,
a
what is
different
the,
Chop Suey. Um,
what is this cover art?
it it looks like, honestly, it looks like what's the band's name? I'm thinking like Blind Melon or something, like an album cover for them. You
Yeah,
know?
or some really obscure children's book.
Yes, yes. And then the other is Beyond the Limit: Ultimate Climb, which feels like it's trying to rip off Cliffhanger, the Sylvester Stallone movie from around that time, which I don't know if you've seen. It is average.
See, I always think of like the second David Lee Roth album for some reason.
Oh, when you see this one?
Yeah, just the cliffhanger, like the image of the guy hanging from the side. Like I don't
Oh,
know, I don't know why I think that.
see, the only David Lee Roth album cover I remember is Eat 'em and Smile.
It's gonna freaking drive me insane because I can't remember what it's called. He did
Skyscraper?
Skyscraper. That's the one. I don't know why that I thought of that.
Well, that's your zone, man.
I guess I'm not really a David Lee Roth fan either. But
Yeah. Can't believe like the musicians he had for these albums were like some of the best around at the time, and yet the music is just
oh yeah, yeah. The
not.
album cover basically is like
That's
exactly what.
Cliffhanger.
Yeah, it's exactly the game art too.
Yeah, for the other one. And
Yeah, he had Steve Vai, Billy Sheehan, and Greg Bassinet on it. That album, I
yeah.
believe.
Yeah, 3 incredible musicians.
Hmm.
And yet the music is just not. But
Well,
I'm not
because
really,
David Lee Roth's not a good singer.
and I'm not a Van Halen guy. So I was a long time ago.
See, I'm a Sammy Hagar fan, so I prefer that era.
I think they both have their merit.
No, they do. I like Sammy Hagar, but
Just
that
it's not
is-
Van Halen. It's not Van Halen 3.
which sucks because he's arguably the best singer they ever had. But that's for another argument.
That's we'll get to that later. So yeah, it's funny that this game came out in 3DO and the game did not sell well. So they're like,
because it was on 3DO.
yeah, so they're like, oh, let's port it to Windows. And it still didn't sell well. It probably sold worse,
Probably.
which is kind of funny when you think about it. Because they don't have a date for the 3DO release. It just says 95. But for Windows, it was released on Halloween 1995. Just
So I
in
assume
time.
probably mid '95 was when it came out.
I'm gonna say May. I don't know why.
Yeah, Moby Games doesn't even give a good answer on that.
No one ever. It just appeared one day.
Yeah, it was a thing that they made.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it just says 95 for 3DO, so who knows? So I guess now, do you want to do the brief description of what the gameplay is like?
In fact, if you want, I can read a little bit of the manual that says what this game is about.
Go for it.
How nice, isn't it? So, Icebreaker is about destroying pyramids. Pyramids are bad. They are evil and nasty. You are outnumbered and alone. All you've got are your wits and cunning. Oh, yeah, and a real big plasma blaster. You face a bunch of different species of pyramids in Icebreaker. Some just stand there waiting to be shot or rammed. Others, the dreaded Seekers, chase you around and try to whack you. The 90s. Some pyramids are destroyed with the first shot. Others take many shots. Some are smart, some are dumb. Some regenerate, some are immune to your plasma blaster. Oh well. To survive, you've got to move around a lot. Unfortunately, you can't trust the very ground you stand on. There's slippery ice and swamp and lava and pits and other terrible stuff. Watch your step, but you're not step. There are 150 increasingly challenging levels packed into this game, each providing its own special challenges. Your goal is to clear each one at your choice of 4 difficulty levels from easy to insane. Good luck. You'll need it. Oh, and for funsies, it's weird they say pyramids are bad when your main character, as you can see behind me, is a pyramid.
Yeah.
And apparently your character has a name.
Oh, does he?
Yes. And here, I'll show it to the camera for everybody. You are the Dude Meyer.
The Dude Meyer.
The Dude Meyer.
Dude.
Good God.
I'm going to make that that's just going to be I'm going to make a bot on Discord, just the Dude Meyer.
That should be your nickname. Just when you go into work, be like, guys, call me the Dude Meyer from now on.
That's going to be my burner account on X now. Dude Meyer.
If you see OnlyFans girls, if you see a Dude Meyer subscribing to you, you know who it is.
Yeah. It's just going to be that the image is going to be just a pyramid on its side.
Is this the Illuminati? No, it's far worse than that.
Yeah.
And yeah, in the back, it's actually kind of convenient. They have like a who's who and what's what. So they give you, there's all these different colored pyramids, as they had said. And the game actually has a pretty nice tutorial section as well. So before you even jump into any levels, they're like, oh, here's like all the main colored ones. So the main ones are blue, which are the ones you run into. So you ram them and they shatter, and they make a nice glass sound effect when you shatter them. And then the reds are the ones that you shoot, but you can't touch them or you will die. Or as the game goes, you will, uh-oh.
I love that intro in the freaking cutscene, in the opening cutscene, by the way.
Yeah, it is fascinating. And then the green ones are the ones that the Seekers, which are the little yellow ones that come after you. You have to kind of guide them to in order to like eat the pyramids is the best way to describe it, so that, they can come at you. And then there's like, the purple ones, which if you shoot them, they turn into a pit, and it gets further detailed, but those are kind of like the basic ones, essentially. And I think, the game does a decent job of introducing them when you start playing the game. And then you find out as you play, they can change colors as well. So like if you hang around long enough, a green will turn to a red one, which helps a little bit. And the 4 difficulty selectors, the big difference is they will change how many Seekers show up, because I think in easy it's only like 2, but insane it's like 8.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
Yeah, and also the color of the pyramids will change more rapidly in the difficulties as well. So it doesn't change a huge amount. Like the core of the game is still the same, but on easy it is a much easier experience to have overall. So
yeah, like gameplay wise, it is very simple to control. Like just D-pad moves you up, down, left, right, diagonal.
Would you call this a puzzle game?
It's like a puzzle strategy action game hybrid. That's kind of what it felt like to me, because there is some strategy to it where you kind of have to like strategically take out the pyramids in a certain way to kind of clear space, because the red, you want to take out the blue ones to make space, and then you want to make sure you get rid of the red ones so you don't accidentally hit a red one when you're moving around. Well,
how many times did you accidentally run into a red one?
Well, I skipped the tutorial because I didn't have the menu, because I did play this on an emulator. I ran right into the red one, and it was just like, uh-oh, and I was like, the fuck did I do? So it took me a few minutes to figure it out. Then I realized, oh, you have to shoot the red ones and take out the blue ones. I'd hit them occasionally, because like sometimes you're like not paying attention, you just bump into one and it's like, uh-oh.
Yes. Yeah. Like that was my experience. It was so easy to just like, you look away for a second and you just fuck up. Like the hitboxes aren't bad. It's just, it feels like every once in a while, it feels like it's picky in very specific circumstances, I guess. Because with the game being isometric and you only having a D-pad, it makes being able to control it not the best. Because when I was playing it, I couldn't stop thinking I would really like to play this with an analog stick. because I could only imagine it would play so much smoother and better. But unfortunately, we never got that. Um, but yeah, it's very simple for what it is, and I don't know how many levels of it you played.
I played like 20, and I kind of felt like that was enough.
Okay, because I played about 10, and
Okay.
to remind the audience, 150, which is a lot, and because when you first start playing it, you think, oh, this is going to be simple. There might not be that much to it, but as the game says, the further in you go, they ramp things up and change things quite a bit. There's a surprising amount of content in this game.
Oh yeah,
What it's
it
trying
never
to do.
it never gets boring. Like it's always interesting.
Yeah, because you're always like, what are they going to do next? And you just sort of have to accommodate what the game does, And I mean, I'm curious to what happens if you beat all 150 levels. Like, is there a little ending? Because there are some cutscenes. Are they
Yeah,
trying to have like a story or something?
not a deep one if there is.
As deep as those pits over there.
This game, I joke, but like playing this game the whole time I was playing, I'm like, was this like made on drugs? Because like this feels like a drug trip kind of game.
But when did that LSD game come out?
That was a couple of years later because that was a
Okay.
PS1 game.
Because I mean, this is like competent, Like I think it's kind of good for what it is.
It's well made. It's just
absolutely.
like when you get super frantic, you start really thinking about it. Like you're like, I'm playing as a pyramid, smashing other pyramids, and there's like other pyramids running around like crazy people, and I'm just like, what is happening? But
and it's like, why is this called Icebreaker?
yeah, that's another thing. The ice only appears in like a handful of levels in this game. I'm gonna say.
Yeah, like is it that like when you run into the blue ones and it shatters, is that supposed to be like you're breaking the ice? But like
maybe.
But like even still, you see all the different colors, and some of them you shoot, and the seekers, and I honestly don't know. I have no idea. I wouldn't be shocked if when they were like developing this game, one of the devs was like, he was like, oh, I don't know how to break the ice with blah blah blah, and somebody went, break the ice, icebreaker, ice. That's what we should call this game. He's like, no, that wasn't what I was talking about. He's like, no, we're calling it Icebreaker.
They were trying to figure out. They're trying to figure out sound effects for the game, and one of the interns dropped a plate in the background. They were like, "Genius!"
They should have called it. They should have called it Plate Breaker, but there's no plates here.
Yeah, it's the name is catchy. I guess that's probably the reason why they chose it.
Yeah, yeah. It feels like it's a if this was like a puzzle game on Steam or something.
This game would be perfect for mobile phones nowadays.
Yeah, it has kind of like a slight modern feel to it. You know what I mean? That, as I said, if you put this on like Steam as like a puzzle game for like $5, it would generate like a little bit of a cult following.
Honestly, I bet it would. I swear there's a reason why this game is like one of the 3DO games that gets mentioned the most.
I think because it's a rare case of an original game for the 3DO that doesn't. It's not FMV. It's not gimmicky. It's just a game.
Or it's not based off of another series.
It's not based on another series. It's an original IP. I can't believe I'm saying that. An original IP, and it's kind of good.
And it's also, for the most part, still exclusive to 3DO. Yeah, there's a PC version out there, but there's also a PC version of Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, so keep that in mind.
Yeah. If we've learned anything, especially in our current generation of video gaming, PC doesn't count.
Yeah,
when it comes to exclusivity, like who cares, right? Like PC is its own beast,
Exactly. Yeah, so gameplay wise, it's very fine and competent. It's funny because you think there would be more to it, but it's not a super deep game. But actually, I think that's part of its benefit is that it's very simple.
Yeah, I think that's where I get the puzzle vibe from this game. Is that like with most puzzle games, or at least the good ones, there isn't a lot to it as far as what the game is trying to be. It just does what it does very competently, and just kind of tries to come up with as many variations as it can of the same sort of idea to keep you engaged, essentially. And yeah, I think it does that pretty well. Like, yeah, it's not deep, but it doesn't need to be deep, like Tetris ain't deep. and
No,
Tetris is
it's not.
phenomenal.
It stimulates the brain, and that's kind of like one of the best aspects of a game like this.
Yeah, yeah. And I could imagine in 95, if you had this game for the 3DO, you'd be set for a good while. If
Yeah,
you wanted to do all 150 levels on all the difficulty settings, if you want to 100% this game, it would probably take you a while.
yeah, honestly. The only other thing I wanted to ask is, what did you think of like the snappiness of like the D-pad for movement?
I didn't mind it actually. It was nice because some 3DO games I've played have not been responsive with the controls at all. So to see a game like this be much more snappy and precision, I really appreciated. It was a nice change of pace. It's just a shame that lining up shots can be difficult because it's all isometric,
Yeah,
and it doesn't do the like some isometric games do, where the D-pad you essentially have to turn it in the isometric direction to sort of get it right. It still
yeah,
operates how you would assume, but the diagonals were not the most responsive, or like I don't think you can sit diagonally and shoot. You have to move diagonally. Like say
yeah,
like in Contra, when you're like shooting people, you have to run to shoot diagonally up or down. You can't stop and do it.
yeah. It's kind of unfortunately just a product of its time. Like I feel like
Yeah.
if this was made on modern platforms, the controls would probably be they'd be a little smoother.
Yeah, like I'd be curious if this game had an analog stick, if you did more analog controls, because I think it would definitely improve it. I don't think it would make it any easier, but it would probably just make it much more simple to control, I think.
Hmm. I'm loving the background where you're just getting swarmed by all those triangles back there.
I like that this is one of the few 3DO demos that actually, like, there's enough going on, because some 3DO demos are just like 10 seconds of footage and it just repeats over and over and over
Or
again.
it's a full motion video clip that doesn't show gameplay at all.
Yeah, this at least it generally looks like what they would probably have up in the store at the 3DO section. Like this is the
Yeah.
game I would have running because stuff is happening and it looks interesting,
And speaking of that, this is a good time to transfer over to graphics and sound. Graphically, I appreciate this game a lot because
It's colorful.
it is, and it isn't trying to be more than it is. It's very much so it's strictly a 2D game. The only 3D you'll see is in the pre-rendered cutscene.
Yeah, which those are interesting.
They're
Like-
very educational, trippy in the way I see them.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like that meme where it's like the stick figure and he doesn't have a face, but they're like being able to convey emotion with like no face,
Yeah.
Yeah, like the specific ones. It feels like with the cutscenes here, that's what they're trying to do. But
You know what? This is a really obscure reference, but you know what they remind me of?
what?
You ever been to like a bowling alley and whenever you get like a strike, there's like the little animations on the screens?
That's so funny you mention that because I keep getting in my YouTube recommendation this video of it's when you get a strike at the bowling alley, and
Yep.
it's some intro to like a Finnish TV series from like the early 2000s or something, and it is the weirdest shit where it's like a guy's a column and then it like turns into like a coffee cup, and then the coffee cup turns into like a little ball, or no, she turns into a doctor, and then the doctor explodes and somebody sweeps it up, and it is the most weird shit I've ever seen.
Yeah. Like
I could see that with this.
like I remember so I'm from New England and we have candle pin bowling. Don't ask, it's weird.
You bowl with
But
candles?
no, they're not real bowling pins. They're like the pins aren't shaped like the traditional bowling pin. They're like straight up just like candles, just cylinders. It's weird. It's a New England thing. But the animations whenever you get a strike would always be ridiculous. Like you'd have the bowling ball come and just blast them all, and then it just shows them going up to heaven, like the heavenly gates. And it's like what? It's just like what?
The unbridled creativity of bowling alley strike video screens is amazing. Like if our viewers have never seen it, just like YouTube, like bowling alley videos or whatever, you'll see some crazy shit.
Yeah. And
Like
it's
legit
like the
stuff.
most hilarious pre-rendered CG like you'll ever see.
It literally looks like 3DO FMV. Like they
Yeah.
made it on a 3DO.
Yes, in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
And, but yeah, the graphics for the gameplay I think are it's perfectly fine, but we got to talk about the music.
It's nothing I'd like. It's nothing that I'd say is like must listen to, but it's all very catchy and memorable.
It really helps, I think. If this game was like dead silent, it would kind of be boring. But like,
So all you'd hear is the glass breaking and an occasional
yeah. The composer, Marcus Williams, like he was kind of cooking a little bit, you know? Again, I agree. It's not must listen, but if you sit down and play the game, I think you'd be amazed at how like that's like, oh, the music's really good. You know, it felt like this guy was really trying to show what he was capable of as far as like making some music, and it's pretty. It's very of the time. You know,
it sounds like a 3DO game in a lot of
ways. Yeah, it's like it feels like it's part of that '90s kind of electronic scene. You know, like it has maybe a teeny bit of like an Aphex Twin influence. It ain't that good. You know, it's this isn't no Selected Ambient Works 85 to 92, but it has sort of that kind of like almost ambient techno, slight house kind of thing going for it, you know, with a little bit of like 90s funk kind of thrown in. You know, it sounds like I'm really hyping it up, but I just remember being like, this music's pretty solid, you know? I was amazed, really.
If you look it up, like say like look up gameplay footage, you'll listen to the music and see the gameplay and you'll be like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking when I'm looking at this game.
Yeah. And it's just nice to know that it's good. Because a game like this with bad music would probably just render it unplayable.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think of a good example of that, like where like say like any sort of game where the music sucks, but like
Yoshi's New Island.
Yeah, that's one. Oh god, yeah, that's even worse because it's a platformer.
Yeah,
because like I'm even thinking like a similar game like in style would to me is something like Marble Madness, which is like another isometric puzzle-ish kind of game. And Marble Madness has a fucking phenomenal soundtrack.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard to because we don't think about games when they have bad music. Just think about it. If the music isn't great, you can just like mute it and put on like a podcast or something, you know?
I think a game like this though, music's important because like when your brain's being stimulated with like a puzzle-ish kind of design, you really want something in the background to like keep it distracted at the same time, which is like I think why Game Boy Tetris worked so well is it had that iconic song.
Oh yeah. Yeah, or even Columns on the Genesis. I always like that, like do 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 do, you know, that kind of song.
Or like Dr. Mario, the like
yeah,
like it just works.
Yeah. Which one do you prefer? I forget the names of the songs because there was two of them.
I think Fever's the one that I like.
Fever and Chill.
Yeah.
Fever's the one everyone knows. Yeah. Yeah, and then Chill is a completely different song. I like Chill a lot more.
I like them both. I've been playing a lot of Miracle Cure on 3DS lately.
Yeah. Well, one game I always go to when I just kind of need something to play is a Hexic HD on the Xbox. Oh, yeah. And I mean, the soundtrack in there is very just like ambient noises, essentially. You know, it's nothing much. But
didn't the Tetris guy make that?
Yes, he did.
Okay,
and they made a sequel to it, Hexic 2, which I don't like as much. You know, it adds, not to get out too off topic, but it adds a bunch of different like you can swap certain pieces. There's like a challenge mode, and you can get, you know, there's more to it. But I like Hexic HD because it's very simplistic. You know, like I'll just play the survival mode forever and ever. So, but yeah, sound design not too shabby, and the sound effects are hilarious, but not like in a bad way. It's just
they punch, like they have a very good punch to them. Like when you break through the blues, the glass shattering sound.
Yeah, and the sound of the plasma cannon. You know,
yeah, it punches.
They're not stock sound effects. It sounds like they actually, or they kind of dug for like a shatter sound effects. I'm sure there's like a million different stock shatter sound effects. That was hard to say. And I could imagine they probably dug to find one that wasn't overly used. You know?
Even the like how much do you want to bet that was just like someone who worked at the company? They were like, hey, say real quick, please.
It might have been Marcus Williams, the composer of the game.
Could have been. It's funny though, that sound, it pierces you when you're playing, because like if you're like really into it and you actually hit a red pyramid and that just like jump scares you and you're like, whoa, I forgot about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and then the dude Meyer like gets his little ghost and it stands up and he floats up into heaven
Yeah,
because he just got a strike.
the Dude Meyer. Like, that is the
Yeah,
best
dude
name.
Meyer.
Oh, jeez.
They should have copyrighted it.
Yeah, no. Imagine someone like bringing that up, like in like a court case for copyright violations. Sir, they've infringed on my copyright for the Dude Meyer.
Yeah, it's like that Mickey Mouse case. We got to throw it out. But this is important. This is still within our, our copyright IP.
Hmm. So, extra points to bring up. What exactly were you thinking here?
I don't have anything specific though. When I was looking through the manual and the credits, I found something a little interesting that I wanted to read, and it says a special thanks to Michael Ammar, Ammar, so Ammar, for permission to use the name Icebreaker. Magnet Interactive's Icebreaker has no relation to Michael Ammar's Icebreakers magic training videos.
Oh,
Yeah, that was just thrown in at the bottom. And I'm like, okay, and had I known this beforehand, I probably would have searched the YouTube and tried to find some to see if there's any pyramids in the background.
hmm.
So maybe there are.
Maybe. It's interesting that they actually went out of their way to get permission too. That's actually
for
forward thinking.
for Icebreaker, which like, I mean, yeah, it's probably not a standard colloquialism, but I feel like that's not unique enough. You know what I mean?
I guess because I give one in every episode too. There's no memory manager, so if you're using that FC1, sorry.
No, but it does have, but it does save your progress, which is really nice. I mean, when you have so many levels, you need to be able to save them.
Yeah, the fact that it saves it all is pretty nice too.
Absolutely.
I think also we should probably go into reception here, like from like the official critics. And what I find fascinating is this game got a lot of like critical praise, but a lot of reviewers gave it not great reviews, which I find interesting. Like EGM was like scathing towards it for whatever reason. They like claimed the concept was cool, but the graphics looked like shit according to them.
Well, that's because they probably wanted like D style like 3D graphics or FMV of like C-level actors,
Like I'm thinking here and I'm like I love the 3DO, but 3D was not its strong point. Like
no.
The fact that Need for Speed looks as good as it does is kind of a miracle. Because like when I think 3D, like we'll probably get to this game at some point, but like when I think like 3D puzzle, I think of Petanque, and the less said about Petanque, the better. We'll get to it at one point.
Oh, we'll talk all about Petanque.
I honestly like that they didn't try to be more than they were with this game. So I get for the time they were probably like, this game doesn't showcase next gen. It's just an old looking game, but it's like it's
kind of because there's not a lot of textures. You know what I mean? It's very kind of basic looking. But I think in that basic look, it makes it kind of universal and almost borderline timeless.
It was also the time though, like the time they really weren't this like that simplistic style wasn't big. Like nowadays, if this game came out today, like this fits perfectly in with the indie scene of like these like minimalistic looking games that just have like a weird style to them that just appeals to people.
Or even if this came out during like the Xbox Live Arcade days, like this game I think would have been a little bit of a hit in that era as well. Like imagine this on WiiWare for like 500 Wii points. People would be going on and on about this game, I think.
Just like a cheap little game that like stimulates the brain and has an interesting look to it.
Yeah, if I had bought this on the Wii for 500 Wii points instead of Sonic 4, I probably wouldn't be as mentally damaged as I am now.
Oh, jeez. I haven't played Sonic 4 in a long time.
The Wii I have, if you can see it down there, it's the one with it on it, with my 100%ed game file.
Ooh.
Pain. I should play episode 2 one of these days just to complete that, but
It's
I don't know.
better
It's like
and worse at
trauma.
the same time.
Yeah,
It's kind of amazing.
It's like, do I want to revisit that trauma, or it's like, do I get both on my Xbox and then get all the achievements for what? Just to put that on my tombstone.
Beat Sonic 4.
No, no, no. I don't want to get buried. I want to get cremated. So I'll put it on my urn.
Ah,
That my whoever my whatever descendants I have. Well, I do have one, but like, you know what I mean? Like they have to see that on the urn, be like, oh, that's him. He got all the points in Sonic 4. That was his true accomplishment.
yeah. I beat the boss and I was like, I did it. Now to move on.
I did it. Yay.
I beat the boss and got all the Chaos Emeralds. That was enough of an achievement for me. I was like, all right.
In Sonic 4 specifically, not any of the others.
No, it's Sonic 4. You can cheese all of the special stages by just hitting pause and restart before you fail, but it still is a challenge.
I thought the special stages were super easy in that game.
Some of them had it was the time limit really more than anything that was annoying.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
We'll save that for another Sonic discussion at some other point.
We already did that.
We did 2 of them.
We did, and there's still more to talk about.
We went 3 hours on the 3D games alone, but that's, if anyone's wondering, go to GNC Sonic Revisited Part 2.
If we do this again, we'll get Dre. Just so we have another sufferer.
We'll get Dre. We'll find Rock the Swordsman somewhere. All the Sonic heads we'll just pull out of it nowhere.
Yes, we'll get the fine time.
Yeah. Yeah. Other than that, though, reception wise, generally positive. There were a few reviewers that give it shit reviews because it wasn't next gen, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not. They said like the gameplay quickly gets repetitive and like kinda, but I've often felt that like every game is repetitive. Like when it's good, it's the gameplay loop, and when it's bad, it's repetitive.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's just finding something that you like. Do I want to do this for the next 8 hours of my life, or do I want to do something different?
This would be a great handheld game.
Yes. Like a GBA version of this, or a DS version where you kind of like drag your guy around. Like imagine you control him with the touch screen, and then you use say like the shoulder button to shoot him or whatever, like those old Call of Duty DS game controls, but on something that kind of makes sense for it.
Yeah, honestly, and I can see myself.
Call up End Space. What are they doing?
They're no longer in business.
They moved on.
R.I.P.
They're not. Yeah, the people hopefully aren't dead.
The company is though, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. Did EA kill them, or did Activision kill them?
I don't actually think they were owned by anybody. I think they just fizzled out.
Yeah, happens.
They made that Duke Nukem game on PlayStation though, the one that was just Tomb Raider.
Oh, what's that one called?
Time to Kill. Well, they made 2. They made Time to Kill and Land of the Babes. Time to Kill was actually okay. Land of the Babes sucked though.
Land of the Babes.
Yeah.
They made Mary-Kate and Ashley Sweet 16 License to Drive. Okay, they're good.
They also made Geist. The other M-rated Wii game or GameCube game.
I mean, I have it over there.
Yeah, I have it too.
It's a game.
Yep.
It's a game.
They tried. They certainly did.
If you want us to review it, let us know.
Maybe as a bonus.
For the Patreon.
So, I guess other than that, to summarize it, I guess this kind of ties into must play, okay, stay away. I'd say this is a must play.
Yes.
I
think it is a must play.
It's like one of the least offensive 3DO games we've ever played. Like there is legitimately nothing really bad about this game other than all the critiques I can find with this game are essentially just critiques of any kind of game like this. Like, yeah, it gets repetitive, but any game like this gets repetitive.
Yeah. And it's kind of goes into that, like this time, like any game that wasn't fully 3D was criticized. when we look at this era now and go like, oh, those 2D games are actually incredible, like because those games have aged in like the best, like a stall on the Sega Saturn. That game has aged gracefully
Oh
and is
yeah,
still like a super fun time, Though I think critics were kind to that one at the time. At least I hope so.
they were
But
kind of to it because it was traditional. It was a traditional 2D game, not like a. I mean, I love Clockwork Knight, but Clockwork Knight uses that pre-rendered stuff that doesn't age nearly as gracefully.
I do not like Clockwork Knight.
It's fair. It's
That,
not
that game,
perfect.
that game is a pain for me. It reminds me of the Toy Story, like Genesis Super Nintendo game.
Yeah,
Where it's like it's almost good, but in its almost goodness, it doesn't work.
Yeah, honestly.
Or probably another like Symphony of the Night. I think that game got criticism back in the day for being a 2D game.
Yeah, even though it's considered one of the greatest games of all time nowadays.
Now. But back then, I guess people weren't as kind to it. Or I think they were wanting a 3D one, and then they got it with the N64 one and went, oh, shit, never mind.
Well, I think what's funny is critics were mad that it wasn't in 3D, but it still sold fucking phenomenally. So they were like, okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Castlevania never quite figured out 3D.
No. Like the PS2 ones were okay, but they still.
I like Curse of Darkness.
Curse of Darkness is good. Lament of Innocence, fine. You can clearly tell that Konami gave Iga the same budget he would have given him for a GBA game to make a PS2 game there, but
yeah, I see that. And they probably were saying like, hey, Capcom's making that game about like devils and stuff. Try to make it like that.
Yeah. Thankfully,
and I think it's better than probably like say maybe DMC 1, but
well, and 2, but that's not hard.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, but yeah, I think this game for its era, for what it's trying to do, isn't bad, and as I said, I think it's aged surprisingly well.
This is a game that I think came out too early.
Yeah, because it doesn't feel old. It just feels weird, but it feels weird not in like these are Gen Xers making this game. It feels weirder as like it's like millennials made this game. You know what I mean?
You know what game this
it's almost ahead of its time.
This game actually reminds me, I'm thinking of it just now, but like those old PC like browser games you'd find online, like this reminds me a lot of Cube Runner, for anyone who remembers Cube Runner.
Yeah, like this could be, you could like compress this and put it on like addicting games and play it with like, like WASD controls, and it would probably work just fine.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, it works with a D-pad perfectly fine, so I could see that working very well.
Yeah, and it's like it's aesthetically, I think, kind of pleasing, has a pretty neat soundtrack, and is a very simple kind of game that I think anybody now would still would appreciate and have some good time with, like, I mean, look at that. It's not that it's not that crazy, is it?
It just looks fun. Trippy as hell. Like the pyramids running, the running pyramids to me is still my favorite part, because it's just so like, what the fuck am I watching right now?
Yeah, like there's no wheels, there's no like rocket propulsion. It's just moving by its own sheer will.
They're
just Green Lantern. It's a Green Lantern. It has a lot of willpower.
They're just kind of like flopping around, like with their like legs.
Oh, the squishy ones, like
quote unquote.
Those aren't legs. It's just got a big old bottom.
Yeah, the yellow, the way the
makes
yellow
the rock and the world go round.
Yeah, the way the yellow one moves is just amazing to me. It's so funny to watch.
Yeah. Oh, and they turn green later. When you're in the factory where the ooze was that turned the turtles into mutants.
Yes.
Everything comes back to the turtles.
Exactly. So interesting. We've actually now had 2 double must plays in a row.
Yeah.
3DO's got some gems.
So should we ask, is this, will we put this above Road Rash?
No. I'd put it above I'd put it above Need for Speed, not because I dislike Need for Speed, but just because, in all honesty, as amazing as Need for Speed is on 3DO, I'd still prefer to play it on PlayStation.
For a game called Need for Speed, it is lacking a Need for Speed.
Yeah, it's
it's
the 3DO's legacy. I mean, I think
Yeah.
we can safely say that at this point. But
Yes, despite some pushback from our friends on that,
yeah, they just don't want to admit it.
it's fine with
But
me. But yeah, this game is definitely like one of the best games we played. Probably the second best game we've played. Road Rash still tops it. I don't know if it'll ever be topped. It might, but
I mean, there's some iconic games coming up. No time soon because we're still planning out. But we got some winners on the 3DO that we'll get to eventually. So I don't know. Road
Oh,
Rash
yeah.
is just a surprisingly really good game.
yeah, it is.
This though, this is an interesting one that I think
Yes.
more people need to play.
I agree. And if you're looking to own a physical copy of it, say if you're a collector, it is one of the cheaper games to find. Like I found the CD, the jewel case version that I was showing you guys for, I think $20 max.
I think
The
I
long,
paid 18 for mine.
yeah, the long box is expensive, but for most 3DO games, the long box is expensive. So
Yeah,
don't worry
this
too
is-
much about that.
This is unfortunately one of those 3DO games where the long box is just a piece of cardboard that wasn't super durable. It wasn't like one of those fancy like latchy ones that like EA
Yeah.
used.
Or the one that Jurassic Park Interactive comes in, which is
Even
like a nice, sturdy, thick cardboard one.
Or like Way of the Warrior has this weird one that like it
Yeah.
opens and closes.
Yeah. So unless you want this artwork expanded, which why wouldn't you? There's really no need to hunt down that. So
Yeah.
you're okay, kid.
So I was thinking for not next week. I think we'll take another break next week to talk about something else. But I was thinking the next game, kind of like we did for the last vote, we do the second winner, which was Incredible Machine.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. I'm down for that. I have some opinions on this one.
Yeah, so we'll do Incredible Machine. I was actually thinking though for next week we do another detour, and I was actually thinking we should talk. There was some prolific developers on the 3DO that made a lot of games for it. I was thinking maybe we highlight one of those, and I was thinking what's a better place to start than let's talk about EA.
Yeah, let's do that. You know, I tend to be an EA defender, so
I mean they're making a comeback right now. I will say they've been surprisingly pretty awesome lately.
yes, and I think it's for me. It's like I grew up in the PS2 era,
Yeah.
and and you agree with me as well. In the PS2 era, EA were phenomenal,
PS1
like
and 2.
constant bangers.
And I mean, as we've seen on 3DO, like pretty much everything they made on 3DO was pretty damn good.
Pretty solid, yeah. So yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, hell, when I was The Haunting starring Poltergeist, that was an EA game on the Genesis. I don't know if any of you really know. So, probably like Burger Champ knows, but it was a game on the Sega Genesis where you played as a ghost, and your goal was to like haunt people and like scare them out of the house. And you can use like all the different parts of the house to freak them out, and it's a really cool game. And it was on the Genesis, and then EA, they did like a random PSP compilation of games, just like some random ones. You may remember that, and The Haunting was on there, and that's actually how I discovered it. And it's like, this is a real cool game.
Yeah, EA gets a lot of shit for admittedly some shitty business practices over the years, but
Well deserved.
you can't
Well
deny it.
deserved.
They
Let's
make,
be honest.
I know, but you can't deny it. They make really good games when they care.
Yeah, and I think, as you said, these days I think they're starting to realize, single player games are important.
Yeah.
So we need to put a little bit more of an emphasis on that. And as far as I know, what's their big live service game? Apex Legends? That's the one?
Is that still active? I have no
Oh,
idea.
yeah. Oh, yeah. As far as I know, it hasn't had any major controversy, and it has a steady following and a fan base. So I think in live service case, that's pretty good.
Okay. I know it's no Fortnite, but nothing will ever be as big as Fortnite is.
I think
at this point.
Fortnite's on a downturn, actually. Like, it's starting to dip a little bit.
I've heard it's going up just because like recently, like they've had like the Lego mode, which was surprisingly really good. There's like a Guitar Hero in there now.
I heard nothing but bad things about the Lego mode.
I don't know. I must have just seen different people's opinions.
I guess because like the people I know IRL who play Fortnite, I asked them about the Lego mode and they're like, I don't like this because I think it's just more like Minecraft than Fortnite.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah,
So
which is like just play fucking Minecraft.
Full transparency. I've never actually played any of Fortnite, so I don't have any serious leg in that game. But I was just saying, like, from what I've
Yeah.
heard, it's pretty popular right now. It's actually getting a resurgence with older people, from what I've heard. So
Yeah, I think I put like an hour or two into Fortnite quite a few years ago, and from what I remember, it's perfectly fine. It is what it is. It's just I'm not in like at this point in my life, I'm past the whole wanting to do online multiplayer all the time.
I've
You
never
know?
liked competitive games like that, so I've just kind of always it's
I
never been
did
my thing.
I did for a bit and indulged maybe a little too much. But these days I tend to prefer single player stuff. Or, I'll do multiplayer with other people occasionally, but it's usually like setting it up.
Yeah,
Like the last time I did anything kind of spontaneously was when I beat Titanfall 2, which is a great game. I played around the multiplayer in it, and it was fun. It was pretty good. I'd like to, maybe organize a game with people. I think it would be a fun time. But yeah, other than that, I just, I typically do weird shit like this guy
yeah.
right here.
See, like when it comes to online multiplayer games, I prefer like racers, just because I that's kind of more my thing. Like I love like
That's fair.
online Mario Kart, but
That's fair. I haven't played Mario Kart Online in a long time.
I haven't either. I've been meaning to get a LAN party or LAN parties. That's still a word going at some point, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's our plan. Our next game is going to be The Incredible Machine, but next week we're going to talk EA Sports. It's in the game.
Damn right.
But yeah. So other than that, though, guys, once again, thanks for joining us on the 3DO Experience. You can find 3DO Experience on all the major podcasting platforms. All links are at linktree/the barbecue games, and we're going to be on YouTube pretty soon as all that uploading jazz goes through. Hopefully, we'll also have the live video versions of the podcast from here on out. And other than that, you can find us over on the GNC Podcast Network Discord server if you want to chat GNC, 3DO, or Geek Addicts, or just talk gaming, anime, anything really. And until next time, guys, we will see you all later.
Bye-bye.
If you're not playing on a 3DO system, what are you playing with?